3 road trips, 3 terrifying encounters. What started as a simple drive turned into a nightmare none of them will ever forget. If you ever drive through Arizona at night, never stare too long at the people walking the highway. Some of them notice when you do. I was driving alone on Highway 191 last summer, heading from Tucson up to Moab for a solo photography trip. If you've ever driven through northern Arizona at night, you know the silence feels wrong. It's not peaceful, it's like the desert is holding something back. Like it's waiting. It was around 1:20 a.m., the sky moonless, the road empty. My headlights carved out a narrow tunnel of yellow through endless darkness. No cars ahead, none behind. The desert stretched out as far as my eyes could see. Nothing but jagged rocks and dead shrubs. That's when I saw him. A man walking on the right side of the road. At first I thought maybe he was a stranded driver, but something was instantly off. He wasn't waving for help. He wasn't even looking around. He walked with his head lowered, arms stiff at his sides, taking slow, deliberate steps like he was counting each one. And he was wearing a long black coat, a heavy coat. In July, in the desert, I slowed down as I passed him, expecting him to at least glance toward my car, but he didn't react at all. He just kept walking, head down, as if he didn't even hear my engine. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Every part of me felt uncomfortable, but I kept going. Then I made the mistake of checking the rearview mirror. The man had stopped, but not on the shoulder. He was standing in the middle of the yellow center line, facing my car. Even from that distance, I felt something cold crawl up my spine. He hadn't looked at me once when I passed him. Why now? And how did he move from the shoulder to the center of the road that fast? I tried to calm myself down, telling myself my eyes were playing tricks on me. I drove faster. A minute passed, then another. Finally, my pulse slowed a little, until I saw something ahead that nearly made me slam on the brakes. The man was there, again, standing on the shoulder, slightly turned toward the road. The same coat, same posture, same tilt of the head. He shouldn't have been able to get there. He would have needed to sprint through the desert in pure darkness and somehow end up ahead of me. But there he was. I drove past him a second time, and again he didn't move or look at me. Just stood there like he was waiting. My mouth went dry. My chest tightened. Something was wrong, horribly wrong. I sped up to almost 80, just wanting to get away from whatever was happening. But a few minutes later, my headlights revealed him again. Not on the shoulder this time. Walking directly down the center of the highway, right toward me. His steps were too smooth, like he wasn't fully touching the ground. His posture didn't sway. He didn't flinch at my headlights. I swerved past him so hard my tires screeched. That's when I made another mistake. I looked in the mirror. He was running. Dead sprint, right down the center of the road, chasing my car. Except the way he ran wasn't normal. His arms barely moved. His head stayed perfectly tilted downward. His speed, it wasn't human. I don't remember the next few seconds clearly. Panic does that. I remember flooring the accelerator, my breathing becoming fast and loud, my hands shaking violently. But after a while, the road behind me looked empty again. No man, no black coat, just darkness and road. I told myself not to look anymore. Just drive. I kept my eyes locked forward until something moved. Up ahead, a few hundred feet away in the middle of the road, he was standing there, completely still, head lowered, facing me. I hit the brakes so hard my seatbelt punched into my chest. My car skidded sideways, tires screaming on the asphalt. At the very last second before I would have hit him, he stepped off the road. Not walked, not ran. He just shifted into the darkness like he had never occupied the space at all. That was enough. I was done. I accelerated again, pushing my car near its limit. I didn't care. I just needed lights, buildings, anything. Finally, around 2 a.m., I saw a flickering neon sign, a small old gas station. The first sign of life in 40 miles. I pulled in, shaking so violently I could barely put the car in park. Inside, the gas station was empty except for the cashier, an older Navajo man with long gray hair tied back. He looked up at me and stared for a long second before saying, "You okay?" I couldn't even answer. I must have looked pale or terrified because he slowly stepped closer and asked, "You saw him?" My heart nearly stopped. I whispered, "Who?" He exhaled through his nose like he'd expected the question. "The man in the coat, tall, thin, walks the highway this time of year." I felt the room tilt. "What is he?" I asked. The cashier shook his head slowly. "No one knows. Travelers talk about him. Truckers, too. They say he follows anyone who looks too long." I felt sick. My skin crawled. "How do I make him stop?" I asked. The man stared out the window toward the empty road. "You drive," he said. "You don't stop. And you don't look back. Drive until the sun comes up. As long as you don't look for him, he doesn't follow." I walked out trembling. Before opening my car door, I made the mistake of glancing down the highway. Far away. So far, I thought my eyes were tricking me. I saw him, a tall, dark shape on the center line, facing me. I got in, locked the doors, and drove. I didn't stop again until the horizon lit up orange and gold and the desert came alive with daylight. Only then did I dare look in the mirror properly. There was nothing on the road. No coat, no man, just empty Arizona desert. But even now, months later, sometimes I catch a glimpse, just a shape at the edge of the mirror, walking down the center line, like he's still trying to catch up. There's a stretch of highway in West Texas where people say a girl asks for a ride. But she's not trying to get in your car. She's trying to get you to stop. I was driving through West Texas in early March, taking the scenic route from El Paso to Big Bend along FM 170, the River Road. If you haven't been there, it's one of the loneliest highways in America. Just miles of desert, canyons, and silence so deep it feels like a pressure in your ears. I left late around 10 p.m., wanting to get to my campsite before dawn. By midnight, the temperature had dropped into the low 40s, and fog started drifting across the highway in thin waves. I'd been driving almost an hour without seeing another car. That's when I spotted something on the side of the road. A girl, standing alone in the cold. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, maybe a mailbox or a road sign. But as I got closer, the shape sharpened into a young woman, maybe early 20s, wearing a gray hoodie and shorts. Her head was lowered, long dark hair hanging forward. No car, no luggage, no tire tracks. Just her. I slowed down automatically, instinctively reaching to roll down my window to ask if she needed help. But something made me stop. She wasn't waving. She wasn't looking up. She wasn't moving. Just standing, like she'd been placed there. A single thought slid into my mind. Don't stop. I don't know why. It wasn't fear at first. It was instinct. But as I passed her, something hit me all at once. I hadn't seen her breath. It was cold enough for fog to puff from a person's mouth. But she just stood there, still as a mannequin. I drove on, heart beating harder than it should have. My hands were shaking slightly, and I kept checking my mirrors even though I didn't see anything. A few minutes later, the fog thickened, My headlights barely cut through it. Then out of nowhere, there she was again. The same girl. Same hoodie. Same shorts. Same posture. Standing on the right side of the road. I slammed my brakes so hard I slid a few feet. "What the hell?" I whispered. There was no way she got ahead of me. FM 170 is a narrow desert highway. No side roads. No shortcuts. Nothing but cliffs and open desert. I drove past her slowly this time, staring through my window. I didn't see her face, her hair covered it completely, but she was definitely facing the road. Facing me. My chest tightened. A cold sweat started forming down my neck. I didn't stop. I didn't say anything. I just hit the gas and kept moving. My brain kept trying to rationalize it. Maybe there were two girls. Maybe she hitchhiked ahead somehow. Maybe I was tired. But deep down I knew better. 15 minutes later I stopped checking my mirrors. The fog had finally begun to thin, and I felt my nerves settling. Until my radio turned on by itself. Just white noise, a low static hiss. I reached to turn it off. But the knob didn't respond. Then the static shifted into something else. A whisper. I couldn't understand the words, but it sounded like someone speaking very close to the microphone. Soft, breathless. I leaned closer, and then I froze. Because beneath the whisper was another sound. A slow, rhythmic knocking. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. It wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from outside my car, on the passenger side. I didn't look. I couldn't. I floored the gas pedal, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went numb. The knocking stopped. The radio went silent. For a moment, everything felt normal again. Then my headlights swept around a bend, and she was standing in the middle of the highway. I screamed and jerked my wheel, swerving around her so hard the tires lifted off the asphalt for a split second. My car tilted, skidding sideways before straightening. I kept driving. I didn't stop. I didn't slow down. My heart was slamming so fast I thought I might pass out. Tears blurred my vision. When I finally reached the turnoff to Terlingua, I pulled over near a tiny convenience store. My whole body was trembling. Inside there was a young guy behind the counter, maybe 19. He gave me one look and said, "You look like you saw the girl." My throat tightened. "What girl?" I asked. He sighed and glanced toward the highway. "People see her on the river road. She tries to get you to pull over. Doesn't matter if you offer help or not. She just wants you to stop." I swallowed hard. "What happens if you do?" The kid hesitated, then said quietly, "They don't arrive." A chill went through my entire body. "Don't arrive where?" He shrugged. "Anywhere. We had a couple last year, stopped for her. They found their car 3 days later, empty, doors open, no footprints leading away, nothing." I stared at him, unable to respond. "Locals say she died out there years ago," he said. "Some tourists tried to help her during a storm, but they slid off the road. They found the car crushed at the bottom of a ravine. She was never recovered." My breathing got shallow. The kid looked at me with an expression that made my stomach twist. "They say she's still trying to get someone to stop for her. But if you do..." He shook his head. "She doesn't let you keep going." I left the store as quickly as I could, too afraid to even look toward the highway. I reached my campsite after sunrise. I barely slept. The entire next day, I couldn't shake the feeling that she had followed me somehow. On my way home 2 days later, I took a different route. A much longer one. But here's the part that still haunts me. Sometimes, on quiet roads, especially at night, I hear a sound on the passenger side. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. I don't look. I never look, because I'm terrified that if I do, I'll see a girl in a gray hoodie, head bowed, waiting for me to stop. If that old white van hadn't pulled out of the gas station when we did, I honestly don't think I'd be alive to tell this story. In July of 2019, my best friend Zach and I took a road trip from Southern California to Albuquerque. We were both 23, bored with our jobs, and looking for that young adult freedom everyone talked about. The plan was simple: desert highways, cheap motels, and as little planning as possible. The desert was beautiful in a lonely way. Empty stretches of road, giant skies, miles of nothing but rock and heat haze. There's a certain peace to places where almost no one exists, but that peace ends quickly when you're being watched. Around 6:45 p.m., near Holbrook, Arizona, we stopped at a rundown gas station that looked like it shouldn't still be in business. One flickering light above the door, two dusty pumps, and a dark stretch of highway with no cars in sight. The inside smelled like old coffee and rubber. The attendant barely looked up. Zach grabbed chips. I went to the restroom. It was when I came out that I first saw the man. He was standing by an old white cargo van near the pumps. No windows in the back, rust around the wheel wells, one headlight fogged yellow. He was about 50 tall, wearing a sun-faded baseball cap. His face looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, sunken eyes, pale, motionless. And he was staring at me, not casually, not a glance, a full unblinking stare. It chilled me in a way I can't explain. People look at you all the time, but this was different, like he was studying me. I tried to ignore it, got in the car, and locked the doors even though Zach laughed at me for it. But what made my stomach drop? The moment we pulled onto the road, he pulled out too. We didn't think much of it at first. The highway was mostly empty. Cars traveling in the same direction wasn't unusual, but he didn't pass us. He didn't fall behind. He didn't take another exit. He stayed perfectly behind us, exactly 2 car lengths back. When I told Zach to slow down a little just to see if it was coincidence, he did. The van slowed exactly with us. When he sped up, the van sped up too. That cold, uncomfortable pressure built in my chest. Something was wrong. Really wrong. "This dude's following us," I said quietly. Zach glanced at the mirror, probably going the same way. But then the van drifted, slightly into the left lane, just enough for us to see him through the windshield. He wasn't looking at the road. He wasn't looking at Zach. He was looking directly at me, eyes wide, hands tight on the wheel, grinning just a little. I felt my throat tighten.
"Zach, get us out of here!"
Zach wasn't the type to panic, but even he went silent. He pressed harder on the gas, pushing us to 80, then 90. The van followed. Didn't lose distance, didn't waver, didn't slow, just kept coming. It didn't make sense. That rusty old thing shouldn't have been able to keep up with a modern car like ours. But it did. The sky darkened fast. Desert nights come suddenly, like someone shut off the sun. The moment darkness hit, the van flicked on its high beams. Bright, blinding white light filled the back of our car. "He's messing with us," Zach muttered. "What does he want?" I whispered, voice shaking. Zach didn't answer, because we both knew some people don't want anything. They just enjoy hunting. We reached a split in the highway. Zach took an unexpected exit sharply, almost too late. The van overshot the turn. For 5 seconds, we felt relief. But then, the van screeched, reversed onto the shoulder, and tore down the exit ramp after us. "No way!" Zach yelled. He floored it again, tires throwing up dust. The exit led to an unlit 2-lane road cutting deep into the desert. No houses, no stores, nothing but darkness and sagebrush. The kind of place where if something happened to you, No one would ever find you. The headlights behind us bounced violently on the uneven road as the van closed the distance. Closer, closer, too close. He was only one car length behind us now, pushing our bumper. "Bro, he's trying to ram us," Zach shouted. "Don't stop, don't stop. He's gonna push us off the road." And he almost did. The back of our car slid sideways as he clipped us. My head slammed into the window. Stars exploded in my vision. That's when Zach yelled, "Hold on!" And he pulled hard on the wheel, turning into a dirt path barely visible in the dark. The van swerved behind us, its tires skidding in the sand. But it followed. It always followed. The dirt road ended abruptly at an old wooden shed, half collapsed, surrounded by desert weeds. There was nowhere else to go. Zach killed the headlights. We sat there, silent, barely breathing. The desert was pitch black and dead quiet except for the ticking of our engine. And then, in the distance, gravel crunching, growing louder, louder, and louder. The van turned onto the dirt path. Its headlights swept across the desert like searching eyes. "We need to hide," Zach whispered. We slipped out of the car, crouched, and sprinted silently to the shed. Inside, it smelled like dust and animal bones. The moonlight barely lit anything. The crunching gravel got louder. Then the engine cut. Silence. I held my breath until my lungs burned. A car door opened. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching toward the shed. Zach grabbed my arm, steadying my trembling. The footsteps stopped right outside. We could hear his breathing. Slow, heavy, excited. He knew we were there. Something tapped the doorframe gently. Tap, tap, tap. Then he whispered through the boards, "I saw you." My heart almost stopped. He slid something metallic against the wood. A knife? A crowbar? Zach tightened his grip on me. I prayed, not out loud, not even in words. Just the desperate plea of someone who knows they are seconds from dying. The footsteps stepped back. For a moment I thought he was about to break in. But then he walked away, slowly, still dragging the metal object in the dirt. We stayed frozen for what felt like an hour but was probably only 5 minutes. Then we heard the van door slam. The engine started. Headlights swept across the shed one last time, and then he drove away. We didn't move until silence fully settled over the desert again. Eventually we ran back to the car, heart pounding, legs shaking. Zach turned the ignition. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. The third time, the engine finally roared to life. We reversed fast and tore down the dirt path back toward the highway. I kept watching the mirrors, expecting that van to come roaring out of the darkness. But we didn't see it again. Not on the road. Not at the motel we eventually found. Not the next morning. It was gone. But the creepy part? The next day, when sunlight hit the back of our car, we finally saw the damage. Scratches. Deep ones. Carved into the paint. Not from the chase. From when he stood outside the shed. 4 words, long and uneven, carved right into the metal. "I still see you." Even now, years later, whenever a white van pulls onto the road behind me, I can't help but wonder if it's him, finally finishing what he started in the desert.